If you started collecting Social Security before May of 1997, mark your calendar right now because your August payment is landing on Monday, August 3rd. Not the second Wednesday, not the third Wednesday, August 3rd. And if you don't know why your payment date is different from your neighbors, or your siblings, or the person you talk to at the grocery store, stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the Social Security payment calendar works, why your specific group gets paid differently, and what's actually happening with payments this August. Let's get into it. Here's the thing about Social Security payments. They don't all go out on the same day. A lot of people assume everyone gets paid at the same time, like a paycheck from an employer. But that's not how it works, and it never has been, at least not since the late 1990s. Right now, more than 70 million Americans depend on a Social Security or SSI payment every single month. For a lot of folks, that check covers rent, groceries, medications, utility bills, the essentials. So when your payment lands matters. It's not just a curiosity, it's part of how people plan their month, pay their bills on time, and avoid overdraft fees or late payment penalties. And August 2026 is actually a pretty interesting month to look at because a few different rules are colliding at once. You've got the standard birthday-based schedule for most beneficiaries. You've got a separate, fixed date schedule for a specific group of people. And you've got a calendar quirk, August 1st landing on a Saturday, that shifts an entire category of payments around. So if you've ever been confused about why your payment came on a different day than you expected, this video is going to clear that up. Let's start with the basics, because understanding this makes everything else make sense. Back before 1997, Social Security paid every single beneficiary on the same day, the 3rd of the month. Simple, but it created a massive administrative bottleneck. Imagine tens of millions of payments all needing to be processed and sent out around the same handful of days. That's a lot of pressure on the system. So, starting in June of 1997, the Social Security Administration rolled out what's called a cyclical payment system. Instead of paying everyone at once, they spread beneficiaries across different Wednesdays each month, based on their date of birth. This wasn't about favoritism or anything like that. It was purely about spreading out the workload, so the system could process payments more smoothly and reliably. Here's how that birthday system breaks down. If you were born between the 1st and the 10th of any month, your payment comes on the 2nd Wednesday. If you were born between the 11th and the 20th, you're paid on the 3rd Wednesday. And if you were born between the 21st and the 31st, your payment lands on the 4th Wednesday. So for August 2026 specifically, those 3 Wednesdays are August 12th, August 19th, and August 26th. Now here's where it gets interesting. Not everybody falls into that birthday-based system. There's a separate group, and this is the group we're focusing on today, made up of 2 types of beneficiaries. First, anyone who started receiving Social Security benefits before May of 1997. And second, anyone who receives both Social Security and Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, in the same household. For that group, the old rule still applies. You're paid on the 3rd of the month, every month, regardless of your birthday. And this August, since the 3rd falls on a Monday, a regular business day, there's no shift or adjustment needed. Your payment is scheduled for Monday, August 3rd, 2026. Section 3. Why the before May 1997 rule exists. You might be wondering, why does it matter when someone started receiving benefits? Wouldn't it make more sense to just base everything on birth date for everyone? Here's the practical answer. When the Social Security Administration transitioned to the new staggered system in 1997, they didn't want to disrupt the payment habits of people who were already receiving checks. Think about someone who had been receiving their Social Security payment on the 3rd of the month for years. Suddenly switching them to a Wednesday tied to their birthday could create real confusion, and for people relying on that money for rent or bills, timing disruptions can cause real problems. So the SSA essentially grandfathered in anyone who was already receiving benefits before the new system started. If you were already in the system before May 1997, you kept your original payment date, the 3rd of the month. Everyone who started receiving benefits after that cutoff got folded into the new birthday-based Wednesday schedule. This is also why people who receive both Social Security and SSI are included in that same fixed date group. SSI has its own separate payment schedule, typically the first of the month, so combining a birthday-based Social Security payment with a fixed SSI payment would create unnecessary complexity. Keeping both payments aligned around the same general timeframe just makes more practical sense for the agency and for the recipient. Let's make this concrete with a simple example. And to be clear, this is just an illustration to explain how the system works, not advice about anyone's individual situation. Let's say someone named Robert started collecting Social Security back in 1994, a few years before the system changed. Robert doesn't need to think about his birthday at all when it comes to his payment date. Every single month, his check arrives on the 3rd. In August 2026, that means Robert's payment shows up on Monday, August 3rd. Now compare that to someone named Linda, who didn't start collecting Social Security until 2015, well after the May 1997 cutoff. Linda was born on the 14th of the month. Because she started after the cutoff, she falls under the birthday-based system. Since her birthday falls between the 11th and the 20th, her payment arrives on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, which, in August 2026, is August 19th. Same benefit program, same government agency. Two completely different payment dates just because of when they each started receiving benefits and how the rules were structured back in 1997. This is exactly the kind of mix-up that leads to confusion, especially in households where one spouse started collecting benefits decades ago and the other just started recently. If that's your situation, it's worth knowing that you might genuinely be on two different payment schedules within the same household. Section 5. What's going on with SSI this August? Now, let's talk about the other twist happening this month, because it trips a lot of people up. Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, normally gets paid on the 1st of every month. But there's a standing rule: if that scheduled date falls on a weekend or a federal holiday, the payment gets moved up to the last business day before that date, rather than pushed later. This year, August 1st, 2026, falls on a Saturday. So instead of SSI recipients getting a payment on August 1st, that payment actually went out earlier, on Friday, July 31st. Practically speaking, that means SSI recipients don't receive a separate deposit at any point during the month of August. Their July 31st payment is meant to cover expenses through the end of August, and then their next scheduled payment lands on September 1st. This isn't a cut in benefits or a missed payment, it's just a timing shift caused by the calendar. But if you're someone who receives SSI and you're used to seeing a deposit land at the start of every single month, seeing nothing arrive in August can be alarming if you don't know this rule ahead of time. Now you do. And just to reiterate, if you receive both SSI and Social Security, you're one of the people who falls into that fixed 3rd of the month group we talked about earlier. So your Social Security portion still arrives August 3rd, separate from the SSI schedule. One more piece of the puzzle worth understanding because it applies year-round, not just this month. Whenever a scheduled Social Security payment date happens to fall on a Saturday, Sunday, or a federal holiday, the Social Security Administration moves that payment to the closest prior business day. This is a consistent rule across the entire calendar year, and it's designed to make sure people aren't left waiting through a weekend or a holiday closure to access funds they're depending on. You'll actually see this play out later in 2026 too. For example, November 11th is Veterans Day, a federal holiday, and it happens to fall right in the middle of that month's second Wednesday payment window. Because of that, the payment for people born between the 1st and 10th shifts slightly to accommodate the holiday. It's the same underlying principle we just saw with the SSI payment shifting from August 1st to July 31st. The system builds in adjustments so a holiday or weekend never delays access to your money. Section 7. Why understanding your schedule actually helps. So why does any of this matter beyond just satisfying curiosity? Honestly, budgeting is the biggest reason. If you know exactly which day your payment is scheduled to arrive, you can plan bill due dates, automatic withdrawals, and general spending around that date with a lot more confidence. It also helps you recognize when something might actually be wrong. For instance, if your payment hasn't shown up a day or two after your expected date, knowing your correct schedule helps you figure out whether that's a normal processing delay or something worth following up on with the Social Security Administration directly. It's also just useful for peace of mind. A lot of people see friends or family members getting paid on different days and assume something is wrong with their own account, when really, it's just a difference between the pre-1997 fixed schedule and the newer birthday-based Wednesday schedule. I'll also say this clearly. None of this video is meant as personal, financial, legal, or medical advice. Everyone's situation with Social Security, SSI, taxes, and benefits eligibility is different, and if you have specific questions about your own payments, benefits amount, or eligibility, the most reliable place to go is the Social Security Administration directly, either through their official website or by speaking with a representative. Some of the payment schedule information circulating online can be outdated or slightly inaccurate, so always double-check against the SSA's own published calendar when in doubt. Let's bring it all together. If you started receiving Social Security before May 1997, or you receive both Social Security and SSI, your payment goes out on a fixed date, the 3rd of every month. This August, since the 3rd falls on a Monday, that payment is scheduled for August 3rd, 2026. If you started receiving Social Security after May 1997, your payment follows the birthday-based Wednesday system. 2nd Wednesday for birthdays 1st through 10th, 3rd Wednesday for the 11th through 20th, and 4th Wednesday for the 21st through 31st. For August 2026, those dates are the 12th, 19th, and 26th. And if you receive SSI on its own, remember that this month's payment already went out on July 31st, because August 1st falls on a Saturday, meaning there's technically no separate SSI deposit arriving in August itself. That's the full breakdown of why some Social Security payments arrive August 3rd, while others arrive across the Wednesdays later in the month. Payment schedules like this can genuinely be confusing, especially with holidays and weekends shifting dates around throughout the year, so hopefully this cleared things up for you. If this video helped you understand your own payment schedule a little better, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really does help this video reach more people who might be wondering the exact same thing. And if you want more clear, straightforward breakdowns of how Social Security, SSI, and other benefit programs actually work, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Down in the comments, let me know, which group are you in? Are you on the fixed 3rd of the month schedule, or are you following the birthday-based Wednesday system? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.